Let's see. We got Vernon and Charlie and Pete and Rachel. Who else do we have here?
Oh, let's see. We got
John.
Yeah, Keith.
I'm writing down the names so that we can do a good check-in. And Ron and Eddie. Wow.
It's not roller.
Charlie. Who's 626?
That's John.
Okay.
Are you Miss Judy, Richard? Rich?
Judy?
No. I said, Rich, are you Miss Judy?
Am I Miss Judy?
Of Romper Room.
Yeah, I am. I thought you said, did you miss Judy? Yeah, I miss Judy.
All the way on the other side of the wall.
Are you Miss
all the way
Judy?
in the back.
Yeah.
Captain Kangaroo, Romper Room, all those iconic programs. All right.
She would look into her glass out into TV land. I see Rich. I see Charlie. I see Rachel.
That's right. I'm going to the full screen view now. And
imagine that, though. In today's technology, the person on the screen can be viewing who's on the other side of the screen. Isn't that great?
That is amazing. It's unbelievable. Can you guys see the life wheel?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So last week we talked about this was one of the tools from the colorful life wheel that we usually have up, which is like a self-diagnostic. And we said that Lee and I usually take this to the veteran fairs and things where we might set up a table. Then we usually have a poster of the life wheel and another poster that says my purpose in life is ... And then this is a handout and where you can go in and say where you are, where you want to be, and put in your purpose. And people love doing this and bringing their kids over and everything. So I was saying on the early call we got on Saturday, my granddaughter is living with me while she relocated from Northern California, and she's kind of rebooting her life. And I said, yeah, you can live with me, but there's one qualification or condition. You have to go through the program. You got to go through the reboot program. So I'm rebooting her, and we sat down the other day and did this. And Maurice asked me if I could send a copy, which I sent you, Maurice. I texted you a copy, but this is what it looks like. This is what my 23-year-old granddaughter filled out as far as her life wheel self-diagnostic tool, Natalie. And we sat down and we spent about 30 minutes working on this. I updated mine and she did hers. So the dots closer to the center are the baseline, that's the current state. And then the dots more towards the outside is where she wants to be. And then you connect the dots like a spider web and you color in your baseline in pink. That's where she is now. And then yellow, it's where she wants to be. We talk about balance and so forth. Like if your wheel on your car was that red shape, how would that feel riding down the road? Well, that'd be kind of bumpy. Yeah. Because we actually want to try to balance out our life. And then just from looking at the outer dots, if you look at that, and we didn't even talk about balance yet, it's much smoother, be a much smoother ride. So there's something in us that does want to improve and wants to have balance. I didn't say, make your outer dots look like balance. We didn't even talk about balance yet. I find that interesting. Okay. So let's go ahead and check in. Charlie.
10.
Very good. Pete.
10 plus 520.
Very good. Rachel, what's going on? And go ahead and check in.
I have to say a 9.5 today. Feeling good. Thank you. Leave some room.
Yep. And you guys can add any things that are happening, any things you'd like to announce or celebrate, or if you're having an obstacle or a struggle you'd like some help with or some prayer or anything. This is the time to do it. John, good morning.
Good morning. If I want to share my screen, do I just click on the bottom that says share now?
Yeah.
You can, yeah.
Okay. Well,
you want to share your screen? I'm gonna stop presenting, and you can share your screen.
I'm looking at John's background there. John, where are you?
Bro, can you guys see anything that looks like a video?
Not
Nope.
yet.
Nope.
No.
Not yet.
No, I don't. I
I can
just
see it
see
for
the
just
people
a
on the call.
moment. Yeah.
If you do present now, which is that little box with the arrow facing up, that allows you to present, then you might have to click on your image that you're trying to present.
Okay. Let's see. Can you see anything?
Not yet.
Did you dial in or did you come in on your computer?
I came in on my computer as well.
Okay.
That's kind of interesting.
All right, I'm
Well-
going to check in at a 10, and all I'm going to say is that last weekend, there's been a lot of stress, I guess, and I work with almost 200 social workers at the VA, and as you can imagine, with a lot of the announcements that are being made, a lot of our social workers are feeling
Oh, wow.
basically-
Yeah.
a lot of stress and stuff like that. Well, last weekend, a bunch of kids were playing hockey in Utah. And what I was going to share was they weren't expected to win any games, but I don't know if you guys know what a hockey shootout is, where basically when a game ends in a tie, it then goes into like 5 minutes of overtime. And then you play 5 minutes of overtime. And if the game's still in a tie, they have what's called a shootout, where one kid at a time gets to shoot at the other goalie. And somehow we won. And when our kids skated on the ice, it was obvious that they had no idea how to celebrate, because we've never celebrated anything before. So we have a video of 3 kids trying to dive on their goalie, and all 3 kids missed and landed on the ice. So one of these days, I'll just send you guys the link. It'll show just pure joy. A bunch of kids that like had absolutely no idea what was going to happen, and so it just shows good things can happen and kids can be funny. So I'll send you all. I'll send all you guys the link. I'll send all you guys the link.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I'm gonna leave Natalie's life wheel self-assessment up as we check in. I believe Lee is on. Where is Lee today?
Hey everybody, I am in Southwest County in a canyon on some mountain trails, and as I speak, a whole caravan of bicyclists are passing me, going uphill. That's pretty good. Keep it going, guys. All right, I like to see it. Anyway, doing really well. Off to a good start on my 2025 goals, so I'll check in at a 9.75.
Very good. Vernon, good morning. Good afternoon for you.
Vernon, you there?
Oh, can you hear me now?
There
Yes,
you go.
sir.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. I'm a 10. I'm excited about all the possibilities and the things going on, but at the same time, I'm concerned about a lot of other things in regards to workforce development. So, but because of Maurice, he's making me an 11.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
He has that effect on.
He has that effect on a lot of us.
Well, thank you.
But other than that, I can say I'm blessed, and I'm thankful for what actually I do have.
Very good. Very good. Let's go to Eddie.
I have not have an opportunity to really complete this life well, but my numbers are not going to be as high as they were a few months ago, because I just recently retired and I'm technically still in the transitioning limbo. So I'm dealing with a lot of patience when it comes to VA disability and things. So
Yes.
But from what I can see, I know that when it comes to faith and spirituality, family relationships, those are gonna be strong numbers. But everything else, I don't really see high numbers for. So I'm I'm in a recovery phase,
How
from a
about
lot
an
of things.
overall average?
I would give it, I would say a 6 for me.
Okay. Well,
And
that
that
This is Charlie. I want you to claim a 10. Claim it.
Yeah.
Go after it.
Charlie's
Make it
our
happen.
Marine. Okay.
You-
Charlie's our Marine. Okay. So
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of encouragement today, Eddie. So stand by.
all right.
I
You're
appreciate
you're
that.
you're in the neutral zone or the
Yeah.
no man's land, going from the previous, right, your previous life, and you're moving to a new vision of the future. So you're in the middle, and that's you haven't completely let go of the old because you're still dealing with it. You haven't completely adopted the new, and that no man's land, that neutral zone, is where a lot of stress and anxiety and uncertainty is. But with a group like this, it's also where there's some opportunity to actually start preparing for that the vision of the new future. So welcome. Let's see, Keith. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I think I'm operating at a 10. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Good stuff. Exciting stuff.
Okay. Yogi.
So first, I would like to say, Eddie, you're in a right state of mind from my perspective. All right. Feel your feelings, feel everything, accept it, and move forward. Right. And then, but most importantly, you are in the best place to help you with your transition. I just recently retired myself, but I've been coming to these meetings over the last 2 years. I love every single one of these wonderful, fantastic individuals that are willing to help us throughout our journey to get from point A to point B, Z, and whatever and beyond. So highly recommend you keep on coming. Consistency is the most important part. You're gonna have a lot of downs, some few ups, and regardless of whether you're thinking you're at a 1 or at 100, life smacks you in the face, the transition smacks you in the face, the VA smacks you in the face, but this group of people will always bump you up, but if you allow them and you're consistent with it. I am currently checking in at a 9. Yesterday was a very tough day for me. I went to school to be part of the Associated Student Government meeting and talk about the resolution for the veterans that we're putting up to go to California. And as I was coming out of a Title IX training, which is basically sexual harassment, sexual mandated reporting, there was a 14-year-old kid that got stabbed by a homeless individual.
Mm-hmm.
I was a first responder. And then after being the first responder and helping the kid stabilize them until the paramedics came in, then I put on my different hat of reporter. And then I ended up reporting as a breaking news of what was going on. I've had that that triggers different things. And I was starting to get triggered in a negative way. So I channeled it so that I could take all of that energy and emotion into a productive outlet, which was the reporting side of things versus just crashing and moving forward into a negative side. But the kid is fine. They still haven't found the suspect. They think that the suspect was having a gang related or wanting to make it a gang related activity from the Crips and the Bloods and all that crap because the kid was wearing a red shirt. But yeah, so we're gonna have our ups and downs, and I'm just extremely thankful for being here with all of you guys and letting me allow me to have this space with y'all.
Thanks, Yogi. And I think
Yogi.
you just passed through that neutral zone yourself. Didn't you spend 2 or 3 years in there figuring out all your benefits and everything?
Oh yes, and they're still not 100% figured out. To be completely transparent, right? The VA still has me. So since October, when they were supposed to be, because I did a med board, it was supposed to be automatic. Everything goes through, right? And since August, the end of September, I was supposed to be good to go in August. It is now January going into February, and I still don't have all of my benefits fully figured out because the VA is still having that issue.
Yep. And in spite of that, you're self-managing very well, and you do well with the support group here. And we're very lucky to have everybody on this call. Who did we miss? Who's next?
Okay, we got Ron out there and Diane.
Okay.
So Ron, you want to chime in, and then Diane?
I'll go way last. Diane, go ahead.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning, everyone. It's been a long time since I have been here. Health hasn't been that great, but I'm a number 9 today, and it's good to see all of your faces. It truly is.
Thank you. Great. Same here. Ron.
Good to see you, Diane. Yesterday, about 4 o'clock, 4:30, I was at about, I would have had to work to be at a 1. This morning, after sleeping and having an evening of Herkel-Dirkling, which I did put in the chat. Herkel-Dirkling is a word. It's a Scottish word that means don't do anything. Just don't do. So after an evening of Herkel-Dirkling, I went to bed at probably about a 4.5, maybe 5. This morning it was about a 5. Now probably about a 6.5. So I heard what so here's what I'm going to say is I'm trying to feel what I feel, let others feel what they feel, and I'm going to try to avoid making people feel differently. But I'm going to tell a few things about my story. So Charlie's Marine, I was submarine, so I was not quite up to Marine level. And so life is pressure. Anyone tells you differently is selling something. I had my daughter and I do this thing called Marco Polo, where she sends me, it's like a video letter, and then I listen to it, take some notes, reply to hers like I would a letter, and tell her some things. And one of the things I had mentioned to her in one of my Marcos or Polos was it matters who's in your story, in my story, but it matters more about whose story I'm in. Today I heard that Maurice is in a lot of people's story. That's probably more impactful and important than who's in Maurice's story in the bigger picture. And then, but to our Marine friend, Charlie, you said, as you know, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. From that verse, I had come up with a saying I wrote you can call it First Ron 1:2. And it was, you're not what you think you are, what you think you are. So I'm not what I think I am, but what I think I am. And so that's the way I put it internally. So it is my life, Eddie, and Jonathan spoke to it a little bit, is roller coastery. And if it's not roller coastery, it's probably stale. And if it's too good, people will think I'm up to something. If it's too bad, I mean, I'm just telling you the story. You know, you never trust a used car salesman that says everything's wonderful, you know, so those kind of things. So I like to tell stories and bits and pieces that people can adopt in their stories. I like art, but I don't like posters, because posters are art that tell me what I'm supposed to think. I like stories, but I don't like lectures. Stories are lectures that let you think. They don't tell you what to think. So right now I'm a 6.5.
Okay, very good. Is it just me and you, Maurice? Are we the last two? Is there anyone
No,
else?
we got Mike, then you and I.
Okay, Mike.
Hey, all. How are you?
Good day.
Hey, Mike.
Sorry I'm late.
No worries. Are you fighting snow up there in Massachusetts?
Mostly cold than snow. We got a dusting, maybe an inch or so, but nothing major.
Okay.
How are you feeling today from your 1 to 10 check-in?
I'd say a 7.
Okay.
I have, doing pretty good at work, but I'd like to do something a little bit more than just, work. Try to get out more, to exercise more. I have some problems with my knee that developed, so it's, it's up and down with the knee. I wear a brace.
Okay.
So I have an orthopedic appointment on Thursday. So I just got to get myself healthy. That's
Very
why I'm a
good.
7.
But you got a plan, you're moving forward.
Yep.
So my check-in, during the check-in, I'm checking in at a 7 during the check-in because I'm having empathetic bonding with Ron and Eddie and Mike. Okay. But as soon as I flip this slide, I'm going to be a 9.85. Okay. But for now, I'm in empathy with my brothers. Maurice.
All right, so I get to go last. Well, I'm going to check in at a 10 just because that's part of my life philosophy is that I'm going to always, no matter what, I'm going to always start out as a 10 because I believe in the power of my mind overall. And then I'm going to challenge life to try to drag me down, whatever, because again, you never know what's going to hit you during the day. You just have to react and respond. And so far with all the things that have happened, and we had a homeowners meeting this morning, it wasn't very good. And several other things, they couldn't bring me down, although they tried.
Right.
And so
Very
again, I'm just going to live life like that. I had a great week. And what made the week really good or great was the opportunity to do a reboot workshop on Thursday on Midway and to impact the lives, change the minds and perspectives of individuals who were in that workshop who came in at 6s and 7s and then went home by the end of the day as a 10. And they had the fire. And so when I see that just fires me up. And so that's where I'm at.
Very good. Thanks. Okay, we are going to move on. I'm going to flip.
But before we do, it looks like
Yeah.
John has raised his hand.
Oh, okay, John. Thank you for co-facilitating, Maurice.
I just wanted to, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to make a comment. I feel fortunate to know Ron Stark when he's a 1, a 4, a 5, a 7, or whatever other number he comes up with. And I'm fortunate to be with every one of you guys, whether you're at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. I would rather be with you guys at any number than a lot of other people that tell me that they're a 10 that ain't on this call. Yeah. Thank you.
Those are my feelings as well, because this mastermind is awesome. Okay. I'm going to
keeping it real.
I'm going to flip the slide. Man, I just oops, wait a second. All right. Pause that for a second. That's the next one. This is where I want to be.
There we go. All right. Okay.
I just went up to my 9.875 because Keith is back.
And I'm gonna change my background just because Keith is back. I have a background just in his honor right there.
That's right. So Keith, where would you like me to pick up where we left off last week to go to that slide?
Well, let me just do a very brief start from the very beginning for those who are here.
You want to do a quick overview run through? And we got a mute issue.
Yeah, I think
Vernon.
Okay. I just muted him.
Okay, cool. All right, we're good. Okay, so thank you very much. And so we're talking about personal commitment, and one of the things we talked about last week was there's commitment and there's personal commitment. What's the difference? I can be committed to a job. I can be committed to a certain thing I need to do. But what's my personal, me personally, what's my level of commitment? And one of the things that came up this last week, there's this big issue, with the Navy, concerning DEI initiatives going away. And I'm seeing on Facebook people saying, what does that mean? How am I supposed to treat people? You're supposed to be committed to treating people right, period. That's you don't need an instruction to tell you how to treat people. You shouldn't. If you do, that's a problem all by itself. But that's a different story for a different day. So one of the things you're looking at today, as we move on today, let me just say that there are some things that are routine, that we do routinely, and then there are some things that we need to commit ourselves to. And I was just looking at this this Japanese saying. It says this. It says, if you get on the wrong train, get off at the nearest station. The longer it takes you to get off, the more expensive the return trip would be. And so sometimes we find ourselves going in a direction we don't need to be going in, but we just keep going further and further and further. And we, at some point, we need to commit to making a turn, making a pivot, doing something different. So as we talk about personal commitment, that picture you saw of me with that bird on my arm, it was a peregrine falcon. The peregrine falcon is the fastest bird. It's the fastest animal on the face of the earth. When it's pursuing food, it goes at 200 plus miles per hour. Now, one of the things it does as it goes at 200 plus miles per hour is it locks in on what it's looking at. It doesn't have a peripheral vision. It shuts it off. All it sees is what it's going after. The danger is, and in this place I went to where you can, actually work with the falcons, the danger is they don't see cars coming and that kind of thing. So if there's roadkill by the side of the road, if there's a rabbit across the road and they're going for it, their peripheral won't pick it up. There's a good chance they'll get hit by whatever it is. So we don't want to have that kind of lock on our commitment. But I just thought, that's commitment. When you're locked in and you're shutting out everything that is not of necessity, you're able to not let it distract you. And there are some personal things, there's some emotional things that are not of necessity, physical things not of necessity. There's just different things that are not of necessity. And then when I'm committed, I have to be able to shut those things off. Just don't let them distract me. So the background story we're using is this guy named next slide, please, is Kiran Bihan. I won't go through the whole story, but here's a good, and you can just go through the slides, so we can catch up. But this is a guy who, at a very young age, was committed to going to the Olympics. He had this goal in his mind to get to the Olympics. Okay, and let me stop and talk about goals for a minute. When we have a goal, all of us don't have the same vehicle to get there. Everybody doesn't have this Saturday morning group to help them get where they're going. So when we have a goal in mind, you can ride a bicycle, a car, or a train. Okay, it's nice if you get the train. It's okay if you get the car. If you got a bicycle, you won't get a lot of exercise, but but you can get there. But the thing is, am I locked onto the goal? Am I getting there? Well, this guy, as he's a young man, he's has this operation on his leg, and it goes terribly wrong, and so now he finds himself in a wheelchair. And for most people, and I'm sure he had people in his life and say, well, I guess you're not going to the Olympics, and he's like, no, I'm going to the Olympics. So then he gets back on his feet, and this is a true story, by the way. You can look it up yourself. He gets up on his feet, and so now he's practicing. He's back in the gym. He's practicing, and then he falls off the high bar, and he injures his head, a brain injury, to the point that every time he blinks his eyes, he has a migraine headache. I mean, imagine that. Try not to blink your eyes. Okay, so he had to teach himself how to rethink, how to recontrol his faculties. He had to teach himself that. So then he moves on. He's back in the gym again. He moves on, and then he gets a knee injury. Well, the end of the story is this guy got to the Olympics. And I would have to say he got there because he was committed. He had this goal in mind. He was committed to get there, and he got there. So here's something for each of us to consider this morning. Maybe two things. Something that we already are committed to, and something that we need to commit ourselves to. And how are we approaching it? Something I'm already committed to, something I need to commit to. Maybe I'm not even doing it at all, but I know I need to, so I need to commit to it. Okay, so personal commitment, what is personal commitment? It's a dedication to a cause, a goal, a personal value, and it's characterized, the biggest thing is characterized by strong determination to achieve it. This example we just used of this guy, strong determination to achieve it. And so all the negatives that he had, and we can probably imagine the negatives. Some negatives were just the injuries itself. some were the doctors, and I've seen cases of people who doctors told them you won't walk again, and they said, "Oh, yes, I will," and they did. Now there's some who, they won't. Okay, but commitment says I'm going to keep moving in that direction. That's what commitment says. All right, commitment doesn't determine that you're going to reach the goal. It just determines you're moving strongly in that direction. Is what it does. And so. So he had the doctors. I'm sure he had family members. I'm sure each of us, in something we are or were pursuing, had someone in one of our circles, because we have different circles. We have this circle, we have a family circle, we have a friendship circle, church circle, whatever. Someone in one of our circles has probably said to us, if I were you, I just give that up. I just wouldn't do it. Well, the question is, are you committed to it? Because when you're committed to it, there's certain things in our lives that we have to turn on and certain things we have to turn off. We have to turn on determination. We have to turn off distraction. And some of the things that people say to us, some of the things that come our way negatively are distractions that we just have to learn how to turn them off. I was talking to a couple one time about, they were telling me about that they get in arguments in a marriage. And I said, you should come to our Saturday morning group, because all the people who are married, none of us ever had an argument in our marriages. So we're
absolutely.
So
yeah, right.
Other than this morning.
other than this morning, yes. Okay. So, but here was my point. My point to them, I said, look, here's what you can do sometime. I said, you remember the old TVs? Remember when you had to, you were the remote control, because the dad would say, hey, Keith, get up and go change the channel. And you go change the channel. I said, so put a knob on the side of your head. Here's what you do. And when you're thinking about a certain thing that you shouldn't be thinking about, turn the channel. Now, what happens when you turn the channel? When you turn the channel, you don't get the same movie that looks better. You get a totally different picture. You just totally wipe that thing out and you go on somewhere else. And so sometimes when we have these distractions that try to distract us from what our goal and what we're committed to, we have to turn the channel. And that means I have to just stop thinking about it. Example, if I got a ticket this morning for running a stop sign, I can think about that ticket all I want to. This evening, it'll still be a ticket for running a stop sign. I can't think it better. I might as well think about something totally different. And so we have to make sure that we in our determination, we're not allowing ourselves to be. We're committed to the determination. And we are blocking out the distractions as best we can, like that falcon does. And so it differs from temporary motivation. Commitment is enduring and resilient. Once I have that goal in mind, I have said I am putting everything else to the side that gets in the way of this thing, and I am committed to this. Go ahead on, Maurice, please.
I was just going to say on the TV metaphor that you used, some people were the remote. I remember back then, I was the antenna around that little round screen. Okay, move over here and move over there. And like, yeah, but I can't see. Yeah, but we can. But Keith, again, great lead in. And I just want to say that one of the things we talked about on Thursday during the workshop was the whole issue of how you channel your energy and you focus. And again, as you just pointed out, locking on and locking out. And again, the reason why I always start with the 10 is because if you allow yourself to start thinking about whatever's bothering you, as Charlie led earlier, as you think it, you become, and you draw that energy into that. You give whatever that situation is, and I'll shut up and let others speak. You give that situation more energy and more control over your life than you really need to. Henceforth, the whole thing that I've been taught is that you only allow yourself a 15-minute pity party or 15 minutes to think about whatever just bothered you, and then you get back to solutions and you move forward. And Yogi's got his hand up.
Yeah. Before Yogi, real quick, I just want to comment what you said, Maurice. When I tell people sometime, about the pity party thing, I say everybody in their head has the little blue room. The blue room, that little place where you go and you just kind of get into yourself and you kind of feel sorry for yourself. Yeah, everybody got a blue room. Sometimes we just got to come out of that blue room, be in that blue room for a few minutes and get out and go back into the daylight. Okay. But anyway, Yogi, go ahead on, please.
So I like the fact that we talked about the ability to have to feel what we're going through and processing it, right? Whether it's 1 minute, 15 minutes, a whole day like Ron talked about, right? He's going on 2 days. Maybe he's going to take a whole sabbatical, which is all good. But the point is, feel what you have to feel. A lot of the times we run into this massive issue that we focus on the toxic positivity, and instead of feeling what we're going through, we just rush so much into, let me show that I'm perfectly fine. Let me fake the funk, right? Let me pretend that I'm 100% correct. It helps because it draws you to a different place, but it also can take you to a place of avoidance that you forget to process what you're going through, and then you just jump straight into the avoidance without actually going through it, and it creates more toxic issues that later on in the future will fester and will make you worse.
Nice. Excellent. I like that.
Lee's got his hand up, and then Maurice.
Yep, right on.
Hey, Keith. So, yeah, as I'm writing, it's windy out here, so you're breaking up a little bit. That's my bad, not yours. But I think I understood what you're looking for, and I agree with your contention that commitment is a huge part to achieving your goals, and to identify one where you're committed, one maybe not so committed, you want to be committed. So for me, and what I would suggest to people is, if you align your goals to your values, you're much more assured of achieving those goals. So one of my values is fitness, as you probably all know by now. And so my goal last year was weight related, and I was able to achieve that. I was committed. And this year, my goal is get below a certain body fat percentage. I'm committed to that because I've adopted some new exercises and tools. The area where I need to commit is the notion, a goal in 2025 to help others reach their fitness goals. And that's something that, again, I got to make time and prioritize time. I want to start my own senior fitness consulting and coaching business, my third business. So I got to fit some time into that, developing a business plan. But I did get my NASM certification in senior fitness. That's the National Association of Sports Medicine. So I've got that part of the goal, but I got to get committed to helping others achieve their fitness level. So a couple examples, one that I'm committed to, one that I want to get more committed to.
Yeah, that's great. And just as a side note, life coaching is something that's really exploded, but now there's another thing called wellness coaching, and it has to do with all the fitness and wellness specifically. And now there's organizations starting to offer certification for that.
Hey, Rich, in fact, along those lines, I know Charlie and Ron got a hand up. Along those lines, Rich, San Diego County are hiring wellness coaches. They know that they need wellness coaches, and so they're out there looking for people who can qualify for that. Oh, anyway,
yeah, real quick on that, Keith. That's a state initiative.
Is it? Okay.
So what happened is they got, obviously they've got a big chunk of mental health funding, and so the state has created a wellness program with certified wellness coaches, and so all these counties, including LA County, now have a certified wellness program, and they're hiring wellness coaches with the state funding.
I might look into that. We'll see.
So it sounds like Reboot is going to have a wellness coach, Maurice. Sounds like
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So we got looks like Charlie and Ron.
Yeah, I just wanted, as Keith chose this subject and told a story, I'm reflecting on why I'm making any decision in life. And that's on page 123 of week 2, the resource guide, and it goes through 5 whys. Why am I making this decision? And when you get to the root cause, which I'm hearing a lot of, that's what it reminded me of, the 5 why analysis exercise.
Charlie, I like that because, I'm finding out more and more, no matter what the walk of life is, the why is always important. Man, that why, it's a driver. It's a energy.
And then we have Ron and then Vernon.
Vernon, go ahead.
I basically wanted to say I just love this conversation because he was right with saying, why do I do what I do? And that what I realize is that my actions actually have an impact on others. And so one of the things, my favorite thing that I do, especially
when there are challenging times, and I'm dealing with someone with those challenging times, they call me. The first thing they ask is, "How are you, Vernon?" And Maurice will tell you the first thing I would say is, "What, Maurice?"
I'm sorry.
I said, "What would I say the first time that you call me every day?"
Oh, Vernon, you hit me with so many things. You gotta bring me up to speed.
I would say, if I felt any better, I would feel guilty.
Oh yeah. That one too. That one too.
And it makes all the difference. And I did that while I worked 20 years at the Marine Corps. That was my theme going throughout the Marine Corps on Quantico. Everybody would see me. That's what they would say. But the other thing that I would try to add on to that is that you're going to have tough times. And if you dwell in those tough times without thinking about the positive, how you're going to get out of those times, it just makes it much harder. So my other phrase that I use, especially when I was working with challenging times with the Marine Corps, was that in order to predict the future, what is the secret? And the secret was you make it happen. And I know it's tough, but once again, when you think about others as well as yourself, you have a little extra gusto and I believe feel an obligation to get to that 10 even though it's tough as it is. And when you do that, you don't get to that 10 by yourself. So that's why I love this conversation.
Thank you very much. We have 14 minutes.
We got Ron and then Yogi, and then Maurice has a quick comment. Go ahead, Ron.
Yogi and then Maurice. I'll wait.
Well, Vernon, I would like to ask. So you went through that, and when you mentioned where do we look in order to make things come to the future, right? The first thing that came to my mind was we look in the past to learn from our mistakes, from the mistakes of others, so that we don't repeat those mistakes, right? And then to learn from them. And then you're absolutely correct. You surprised me by saying we just make it happen, right? But I think that there has to be a huge foundation, and that's my question to you on your opinion of it. There has to be a huge foundation on being able to not just act, right? There was a person here that when I was transitioning, one of the first job opportunities that I was presented with, he was very upset with me because he thought that I was just a thinker. And he offended me. He's like, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's a thinker and a doer. And I said, I would like to pose that there's a thinker, a doer, and the next level, which is a person that thinks before they execute, to make sure that everything is laid out so that minimize mistakes. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's a very good question. I just recently I do a blog on LinkedIn almost every week, according to what's going on. And one of the things that's going on now that everyone is aware of is woke DEI and the employment aspect. And one of the things that I put out that I got a lot of great feedback on was the fact that this is not new. When you would go back and talk about the past, what has happened, what's done in the past. For example, there were chronological reasons and laws that were put into place in regards to why DEI came about. So my thing is that this is nothing new. We're just going through what we've been through. I was raised in the Jim Crow area in Georgia in 1952. So we're just going through what we've gone through. So lessons learned, look forward, and do the necessary things that have already been done. It's just that you're having to do them again. And to me, that gives me that extra 10 to say this is positive. It's a trend, and together, I believe it will be okay. So not only pull from your own past, but pull from all the things that have happened in the past in regards to others in the same situation.
So I'm just gonna kind of sum it up here, and I'm gonna bring the science into this. and I really totally get the emotional connection, the human connection, but I'm leaning more now in that social science area that says there is a clear business case to not stay in the negative zone or negative space too long. And one good book to read is Dr. Carolyn Leaf's Who Switched Off Your Brain. And she talks a lot about neuroplasticity, again, which is the how the brain adapts and adjusts and conforms to things. And again, if we stay in that place too long, this is just straight up science. If you stay there too long, you could get caught in the downward spiral. And in many cases, some people cannot get out because of the neuroplasticity. That's the way the brain functions. And so as a matter of survival, again, I pitch the argument, feel your moment of pity for however long it takes you, then you get back up on it and you move forward, because if you don't, it will become part of your thinking process. It becomes part of your neural net, and you don't want that. Back over to you, Keith.
Very good.
Yes, right.
And Keith, 10 minutes to wrap up if there's some things you want to touch on.
Yeah, I mean,
we still got Ron, though. I'm sorry. And then Pete just popped his hand up.
So I'm going to try and, the hand is still up. Okay. So, in recovery, there's this thing called the symptoms of denial. And one of them is avoidance. And too many times I've changed the channel too early without.
Oh, he went away. I think he accidentally took himself off. So
Pete, why don't we jump over to Pete then? Go ahead, Pete.
You want to move forward with whatever grief, whatever tragedy, whatever pain you're feeling, because with that, there are moments of inspiration, going through tragedy, going through loss, rather than the expression, move on. Move on. I don't know who started that or why it was started. But when we move forward, we keep those precious memories of what was meaningful to us while we move forward, regardless of the tragedy, the emotional setbacks, or whatever you want to call it. And I was thankful because that was also a TED lecture earlier, and you could check it out. But I agree with everybody, what everything is saying. And if I can say, Dan, it's good to see you.
Okay.
Charlie just popped his hand up. Thank you.
Yeah, I love everything I'm hearing because different people have different perspectives. But that's why Rich said, and we used to teach this in class, the future has got to be strong enough. When the world says stop, your why is strong enough to keep you going, even if you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, really good comments. Appreciate them all. So moving on to the why it matters. Commitment is foundational to success. The committed are more likely to reach success than those who just do it. Who are in it. No level of commitment. They kind of wait to see how things going to turn out. Does it look like I can? Look like I can't? Versus those who committed. I'm going to get through this. And so we need to keep that in mind as we move forward. The next slide, please, Rich. So personal commitment, the importance of it fuels our determination. When I am committed, that's fuel for my determination. And especially when I get these major distractions, I get things that are distracting me, but my commitment is going to keep fueling me to stay, to keep moving, keep going, despite those distractions that try to creep their way in. Abraham Lincoln is known to have said, commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. Okay, if you can make a promise, to yourself. Without commitment, it doesn't necessarily become a reality. As someone would say, it might even become a dream. That's all it really is, So next slide, please. Personal commitment, it helps us as we go to achieve long-term goals. One of the things we need to do along the way when we're committed is build trust and credibility amongst a certain group, because some goals we can't reach them by ourselves. Many goals, they require someone else to be involved in it. And so if I see if you're asking me for help and I see that you're not committed, well, this part of the relationship, I may just kind of back off and, kind of leave you to your own. So when I'm committed, it builds trust and credibility, and people don't mind investing. Many people, should I say, don't mind investing into energy into someone who's actually committed to getting something done. They don't mind joining partners with that team. Lee has a hand up.
Keith, I think it's an excellent point. I really like what you just said about the individual that's seeking to reach a goal or improvement needs to be committed. And if you're coaching them, you need to test for that commitment, because I think we've all been there where we've coached veterans or individuals where maybe they're all too apt to have us do the work for them. And they've got buy-in, but maybe not commitment because they're not doing the harder work. So I think that's really important, as a lot of us are coaches on the phone, is test for commitment. Make sure that you're not taking on the commitments of your coachee. And the other thing I would add is to help gain commitment, I find it useful to write the why. Why are you committed to this goal? For the fitness value that I have and the goal subsequent to support that value, fitness related goals. The why to me really is I've got a history of heart disease in my family. My dad died of a young age of heart disease, and so I want to make sure that I keep my weight healthy, my body fat percentage in a low amount to minimize the chances of heart disease. So that's the why for me on that particular goal.
I can't hear it.
So let me say, I know there's a lot of wind in it, but what he was talking about was the why, and he talked about his personal why, with his his body fat, his fitness goals, that's the why in what he's doing, and that fuels his determination. That fuels determination. So I like that. That's absolutely right. What's the why in the first place? Ron, please.
So all of a sudden my phone said it didn't have any internet connection, and it was, so I had to power down, come back up. Apologize for that. I would want to get back to the thing. If I switch the channel too early, one of the symptoms of denial is avoidance, blame shifting, minimizing, distancing, deflecting, distracting. And so to go with what Yogi said, feeling my feelings isn't the same as self-pity. Okay, I don't want, staying in my pity room. It's not the same thing. Sometimes I have to think about it. And I did have the serenity prayer to end on a note like that. The serenity prayer is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So sometimes I have to feel my feelings so I can figure out if it's something I can change or can't change. And then if it's something I can change, I need to learn the wisdom to know the difference and actually proceed into that change. So so again, changing the channel too early could be more harmful than not thinking through it a little bit.
Very good.
Yeah,
2 minutes, Keith.
Yeah, you're right. Changing the channel too early. So there's a much longer conversation involved in the changing channel piece. For instance, talking to the couple, when you change the channel to avoid you getting in a fight, before you change it, commit to a time when you're coming back to the conversation. So it's not just a matter of just changing and avoiding something that really needs to be dealt with. But as we're just going over something that happened, something stupid I said, and I keep going over it in my head, which I really do. Sometimes I just change the channel, period. I don't need to come back to it. And when it comes up again, it creeps up, I knock it out. Next slide, please. So personal commitment, clarity, understand exactly what you are committing to. What am I even doing? Well, in the end, what does this even look like? What am I committing to? Well, I want to get a degree in blah. Okay, but what's that look like when you get the degree? Where you at? I've known people who've gotten the degree and had no clue where they were going and what they were going to do with it. Weren't looking into jobs in the area. They just wanted to get it. The degree was the goal, and so they were committed to that, but they didn't know what it was going to look like on the other end. For the sake of time, consistency, the regular effort towards your goals, it's got to be regular. We have to, commitment involves regular. At some point, Richard was talking about, I know he's going to come back to micro habits, regular. Even if you can't do it for a long time, just do it regularly. Maybe I can't do it for 30 minutes now, but can I do it for 5? So my commitment says I'm going to be regular about it. Next slide, please. Okay, so this part of the strategies is something that I know as we go into it, Rich is going to get into it anyway. It talks about a lot of it talks about goals. So I'm not going to go into that part, as we wind up. But the strategies are establish daily routines that align with your commitment. I have the commitment. It's one thing to think I have it. It's another thing to have it. And then finally, accountability. Personal accountability is crucial. Taking responsibility for my own actions. So I'm going to end it with that. And then, Rich, next week you can move on with the next topic. So
thank you, Keith. That was a fabulous module that you shared for the last 2 weeks. We are dovetailing this into a perspectives on goal setting, and we know there's multiple perspectives. We're going to pick one and then ask people to also share theirs. So guys, have a blessed weekend and a blessed week. Come on back next week, bring a friend, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did.
All right. See ya.
Great topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Yep.
Take care. Thank